Good evening and welcome you all for this CMA's Monday Musings. And you're all aware now, I think we are having this Monday Musings every Monday and with eminent speakers on very relevant topics actually. Today, I think we got a very strategic or interesting topic, like it's related to business excellence and institutionalized framework for performance. I think before introducing the speaker, I thought I'll give my understanding or perspective on this to set the context actually. See, I probably bring this under sort of a business transformation. It may be a small spoke or a small part of business transformation, because we in our company are in many areas, we do this transformation to achieve excellence in many areas. Like it can be basically financial excellence and people excellence. And now the core thing is customer excellence. Even it can be internal process excellence. Sometimes, I belong to a non-banking finance company. So there we see the excellence in the part of compliance. Since again, I take care of information technology. So we see the part of information security compliance also. So all this compliance, it's all lead to the related excellence. So I think I had just a chat with our speaker. I think with this base only, he is going to talk about this particular area, and based upon his vast experience he got in the industry. I think with this base thing, I think I'm privileged to introduce the speaker of the day today. And Mr. Ramachandran, I think Ram is actually MBA in HR and he's done his, I think, postgraduate diploma in management. And he's a consultant and trainer also. And he has held key positions in Blowplast, Johnson & Johnson, Kellogg's, NIT, I think maybe that NIS part.
That's right.
Correct. Airtel and Tata Group. The significant thing is, is 34 years experience in sales, business excellence. That's why I think selected this topic. Talent management in FMCGs, telecom, and training industry. And coming to his major achievements, certified gold expert in Tata Business Excellence model, that is Malcolm Baldrige model, and green belt in Six Sigma from Motorola University. And he also delivered more than 2,000 days of training intervention in quality, service assurance, sales, operations, soft skills in diverse domains. He facilitated more than 100 lean green belt projects using Six Sigma and 5S framework. As a freelancer consultant, Mr. Ram's core focus areas are channel management, experimental learning, and functional skills and business excellence. I think he got a very great background in working very reputed companies. And I think definitely the topic selected also is very relevant. So with this thing, without much ado, I hand over the stage to Mr. Ram.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
you for those kind words. I've muted my video just for. Is my screen visible to all of you?
Very much, yes.
Okay. So good evening, fellow CMA friends and respected office bearers and my dear students. It's a real privilege for me to really facilitate this particular session called the Business Excellence Model. So we all know that business excellence is all about business and how do you excel in business. Okay, it has got two what you call different connotations, but end of the day, business excellence is all about what I'm going to really share it with you. Okay, in a moment from now. So to really start with, to really share a very perspective, I would like to start with a very interesting thing about every morning in jungle. You all know that a gazelle wakes up. it knows that it must outrun faster than the fastest line or it will be killed. Every day, morning a lion wakes up, it knows it must outrun the slowest gazelle or it will starve to death. So irrespective of whether you're a lion or gazelle, when the sun comes up, better be running. So this is holds good for all of us, whatever business we are we in sales or HR or IT, okay, finance, anything, no, end of the day, we all contributing to our organization where almost we are spending 30 to 40% of our life in those organization in our profiles. So the idea of business excellence, I would like to really share with my experience of almost spending 15 years in this particular function, especially in a very important or a very reputed organization like Tata Group. I just want to share a perspective. So for the benefit of understanding, to really make it more interesting, I'm not going to read out from the slides. I'm going to share perspective from each slide, okay, saving a valuable time for both of us, and we can have more interaction post that. Anybody has got any questions or something, please save your questions, hold your horses, and I will definitely respond to that. I'll also share my phone number and mail ID. You can always write to me. I'll happy to really share whatever little I know about this subject. So if you really look at this picture, if it's going to be a live session or a stand-up training program, I would like to ask all of you feedback about this particular picture. This is a very famous picture from Harvard Business Review. It's called Square Wheels Theory. So when you look into that, okay, I'll just hold for some 15 seconds to really collect your thoughts about this particular picture. Although we'll not have that liberty of sharing it in this particular forum, I'm sure like every one of you will have your own perspective about what this picture is all about. So I'll just hold for just 10 seconds to put your thoughts in a particular frame of this thing. Then I would like to share the background why I'm sharing this particular picture to all of you. Yeah, by now all of you have some inkling about what this picture is all about. Many of you would have got your own perceptions, okay, your own ideas, what you really intend to really read from this particular picture, whatever it is. If you really look into that, this is how most of the organization who do not getting to excellence run. Okay, they perform against all odds. Okay, there are a lot of hardworking people. People work from 9 to 11. Okay, people put up best foot forward. Okay, end of the day, they really achieve a certain numbers. Okay, but when you look into that, the basic problem is that, okay, absolutely these companies or these performers, high performance, so they're all run of the mill types. Okay, so I can share many examples in the past so many years with my own experience, and I'm sure all of you would have their own experience. Okay, so organization which is performing without even understanding their journey and the future, okay, there'll be very little motivation, okay, and maybe top line or the leadership would always think that they are doing extremely well. But the fact is that there is always a vacuum in the trust in leadership, and people employ also wondering that, okay, is it going to continue? Are we going to continue in this momentum? I don't want to name companies. Okay, in the last 10 years, you would have seen so many companies, okay, so many brands, okay, which have really taken up great strides, and suddenly they are nowhere to be seen. But this is not the case with evolving companies, because evolving companies, irrespective of the framework they use, business excellence framework they use, they always sustain, they always perform. For example, like CSR, okay, was a corporate social responsibility. 15 years back in Tata's, we used the word called corporate sustainability. We have moved from social responsibility to sustainability, and we had something called TRC, Tata Relief Center, okay, which is placed almost all the metros. All the group company employees, leadership, we were all part of that. So the company was moving into a sustainability factor. So like this, no, there are so many companies evolving. They use this model called business excellence model to their own this thing. There's nothing called a tailor-made model for anything. Each and every company has got their own privilege and advantage to use it to their own benefits. So the square wheel is all about, okay, people who are trying to really understand, people who are trying to put it, but end of the day, okay, it is all about performance. But business excellence does not work only in top line or bottom line. it is an evolving organization where, no, irrespective of the tides of business, irrespective of the thing, the organization sustain for a longer period of time. They survive for hundreds of years. Okay, there is a huge amount of what you call goodwill these companies have generated, and they continue to really excel in whatever they do. Maybe they are not in the flash in the pan type where they may not come in social media and every day. And especially for young students, okay, you need to take cognizance of this. Okay, because I'm going to share it with you a slide where I'm going to ask some question about which company you want to work for. Okay, or business people, which company they want to be associated with. So like Lao Tzu said, okay, everything has to start with the first step. Okay, in any evolving business excellence organization, why performance is not only a top line or bottom line, because they have a very clear definition, something called, okay, a vision, a mission, and the values. I'm sure like every company today have got their own vision, mission, values. But when you really go and ask them, an employee, tell me, please tell me what is the vision, how you as an employee, you are living to those visions and what are those values? Believe me, at least 60% of the employees will give a blank look, because it is only a statement, a nomenclature, which is put in the front office of the building. I'm very sorry to say this, but when you look into a group like Tata's, the day you join, I'll keep sharing about at least my alma maters like Johnson and Johnson. We had only one credo: do it right first time, every time. Last 120 years, the credo of Johnson and Johnson has never changed. Tata's, when you look into that, integrity, responsibility, excellence, understanding, okay, these are all the group values which every employee imbibe with that. Okay, so these companies have very clearly articulated their vision, how they want to really excel, and what are the values that they believe in, how they want to take this forward. So this is the first step in an organization, the excellence route. How do you clearly create a vision, and how do you ensure that every employee, every stakeholder, every business partner, every customer understands? That is why in companies like Tata's or something, it is always a bottom up. The vision mission is not derived by Mr. Ratan Tata or Mr. JRD. It was done by the employees. For example, I'm sure all of you know that we had a brand custodian, okay, Dr. Mukund Govindarajan, Mr. Raghuram Rajan's younger brother was brand custodian. He always used to say that it is a bottom up approach that really helped organization like Tata's to really go where they are today. So when you look into that, this is the first step in your business excellence journey. And all the people, okay, especially young students, when you want to join an organization, the first thing which you have to really understand is that, what is that? Is it in line with my values, my personal principles? Do I have to really work in this organization? Because that will give you a very good launching pad for you to really grow up in your career. In fact, I was privileged to really do that. I'm not a great this thing. I studied in St. Michael's in Coimbatore. Then I did my graduation from Government Arts College in Coimbatore. When I started my career with Blowplast, I never knew what vision, mission, or all these things. But over a period of time, it became a sort of an guiding principle for me in creating my own self and to really look at. My 34 years of journey is not because of my academic excellence. It's all because of organization who are practicing this excellence has given me this opportunity. So the first is that the internalization of vision, mission, values is the first thing which will help organization to really go into the excellence route. So that is what the first thing. I'm sure all of you will have to really imbibe this particular thought about, be serious about the vision, mission, values of the organization, because it is not written just for some nomenclature purpose. It is actually given to really make it every employee and every stakeholder to really be successful in the overall organization success story. So business excellence is for all today in this. So in fact, my earlier meeting, I saw some 80, 90 people logged in. Today, we are only 18 as per my screen, but never mind. So business excellence is for all. It is not one quality function. When you see TQM, okay, total quality management, it is for the industry or factory. Okay, but business excellence is for all. If you're an HR person, you have a role to play. If you're a marketing person, you have a role to play. If you're a salesperson, you have a role to play. So every one of us have got some role to play because it is an integrated leadership and management system. Okay, so that is why business excellence is a reward of this thing in most of the companies, even companies who have come back. For example, like you all know, Godrej has been taken over by Procter & Gamble, okay, in the late 90s and this thing. Today, Godrej has had the audacity to really come out of the PNG wing. And again, they relaunched their brand. And today, Godrej is again a success story because of very strong fundamental values that they practice. One of the very strong value system which prevails, every employee is a stakeholder. Okay, Godrej is one of the, everybody talks about Tata's, Birlas. But for me, Godrej also is a very, very stellar example how you can really ensure that when your fundamentals are in place, how you can bounce back and again perform, okay, against all odds. That's one of the fantastic examples of practicing the excellence in whatever way manner it is. PNG also is a great company. When Godrej felt that their brand is not getting the traction which they wanted, they came back and again relaunched all the brands. Today, again a success story. Okay, thanks to the business excellence principles that they have. So the basic dilemma of any organization, this is my experience of interacting with the business communities in Coimbatore. In fact, I started sowing the seed of business excellence. I met some of the corporate hospital chains. I visited some educational institutions. Okay, and I just went and spoke to them about implementing the business excellence principles or the concepts in Coimbatore. I got a mixed response. I'm not going to really talk about whom I met and what are the things. But the fact of the matter is that there is a very strong, what they call, tendency to change. But there is always a thought process or the cost of change, which everyone talks. Oh, is it going to cost me a lot? Is it going to really, do I have to really spend more time? Do I have to put more effort? No, it is, there is nothing called a book, what do you call this thing? Each and every one of you can practice excellence in whatever manner your organization or this thing. Okay, that is what the fundamental about this beauty of this particular model. So when you look into that, what are the things when you practice excellence, what you get? Okay, it's basically the value and usefulness. Okay, it's not only perceived by the leadership, every individual, okay, who really wanted to really put a full stop, always thinks about the hassles, risk, cost, and hidden extras. And the success or failure of the model is that when you really come into the act part of it from the don't act. So this is why it is always a leadership driven business excellence followed by every employee who takes part in it. So I'll come to that, how it is going to be leadership, what are the facets of it, okay, in the following slides. So in any organization, when you look into that, there is always a cultural differences, okay. It's basically any change management when you look into that. Tomorrow, after this presentation, some of you wanted to really approach me to say, Ram, I want to really put it in my personal life or what professional, what are the things that you would like to suggest? Okay, I can always give you something called a blue book. I can tell you what are the things. But the fact of the matter is that in any organization, what is very important is that how change management happens. So successful organization like Kellogg's or Johnson & Johnson or Godrej or Wipro or Infosys, okay, or any organization for that matter, they were first addressing what they call the beliefs and values and perceptions, okay, and they were able to really bring in the bridging between the perceptions and the realities. And that is why these organizations are evolving as a great organization, and they have got their own principles. Not everybody is using Tata Business Excellence model. Not everybody is using Malcolm Baldrige model. Not everybody is using CAA, CFQA model. Each and everybody has got their own set of values and principles and their business excellence model. They are really doing exceedingly well in those areas. So how and what is what? So for students, if I've just given you, this is the story of not 100 years. In 2010 to 2022, so many brands have become top number one, number two. If you really look into those brands, some international brands and global brands and local brands, if you see, many of them are out of the race now. In fact, when I talk about 2023, I don't want to name those companies. You will find very glaringly those companies got into some controversies or some issues, some financial misrepresentations, so many things. Forget about politics. I'm not getting into politics part of it. But definitely there is a very serious issue about the corporate governance. But when you look into those companies who are continuously into this practice of putting a very strong fundamental, irrespective of the tide in the market, irrespective of COVID, irrespective of the endemic, these guys are creating value for themselves and they are also creating value for their employees. So if I really ask my student friends here, they will name, okay, which are all the top companies which you would like to work for. I'm sure that my list and their list, there will not be any change. Absolutely, it will be in tandem with each other's expectation. So that is the beauty of this company. When you see here, you'll find Tata's, you'll find HDFC, you'll find Airtel, you'll find Godrej. Okay. you'll find so many companies who are really practicing this, okay, as a business excellence, as a principle, and they are evolving, okay, as a big business house, not only with their top line and bottom line and EBITDAs and cash positives and all these things, they are able to really create value for their stakeholders. That is the beauty of the business excellence model. So it all starts with, okay, the fundamental about each and every one of us when we start our career or when we work in an organization or when an organization start with that. This is the famous C curve we call it. So when we start, every company today, when we start up, there are so many startups. You can find a tinge of arrogance or a tinge of ignorance stating that, no, we are here. We have got say Series fund, we got Series 1, Series 2, we have got venture capitalists lining up, all these things. But you will not find these evolved companies, okay, making all these tom-toms. They are silently perform. They do that because they know that how much is the world-class performance. So between the arrogance, ignorance, when you move into that, when you come to the complacent state, the real danger is that many companies who are really creating a lot of bubbles, okay, suddenly they're vanishing from the screen. The reason is that they start with an arrogance or ignorance, but slowly they become complacent because they think, okay, what I am doing is the best. But the reality is that there is a world-class, what you call, organizations who are practicing this hundreds of years, and they are really doing something good and they are improving it every time. And that is a big difference. And the C curve is the biggest dangerous mark when you really want to apply the business excellence principle. See, I was a salesperson when I sent to, so we have something called the Tata Quality Management System. My very first year, I was sent to this training program and I underwent a 15 days of training program. As a salesperson, I was not very quality conscious or whatever it is. But 15 days of this has changed my perspective about how business is being done. After that, I went for my examination. I got my qualification as a gold assessor and all these things. Today, every CEO, Tata Group has got 100. I'm just taking example of Tata Group. All the 120 group companies, we take Narendran or Mr. Narendran or Mr. Chandrasekhar or anybody for that matter, Mr. Muthraman, our what do you call ex-managing director of Tata Steel. Each and every person is a qualified assessor in business excellence. The moment you go and talk about business excellence, you can see their eyes popping out. They say, oh, here is a person who comes to Canon. Because the CO's KRA is not end without their scoring or getting the JRD quality value gold medal, at least in their hem of affairs, at least in their listing. So TCS, Tata Steel, every year there will be a healthy competition to get the JRD quality value. Companies, almost out of 120 companies, 60 to 70 companies apply every year for this award. Every CEO today in Tata Group is a qualified assessor, is an applicant, and is also undergone the assessment process, both as an assessee, as an assessor. So they understand the world, they understand how world operates. And that is why one of the important qualification to become the senior level, okay, after DGM level in Tata Group, you have to undergo the TBM process. Either you can be an assessor or you have to undergo that. Okay, that is what the seriousness with which Tata Group is practicing this model. So when you look into that, my question about the financial metrics, these are all some of the very interesting financial metrics, which all, some of the finance students here, all my marketing friends here, we all talk about every company today. In quarterly, they all talk about EBITDA, cash positive, revenue market share, customer market share, working capital, net profit margin, so many things. But excellence is not about only the financial metrics. It may be looking a very controversial statement, which I'm making it. But believe me, these 20 years of my being with sort of some of the excellence model, I found out that these are all very important. But the most important is that how do you take along your stakeholders in an organization's success stories? So for me, this is very important, but the most important is that how do you practice excellence, okay, in a given environment? So what is business excellence model? The business excellence model is dissected into 7 key parts. The one is that leadership. The second part is strategic. The third one is customer and market focus. The fourth one is measurement, analysis, and knowledge management. Fifth one is workforce focus or the HR focus. Sixth one is process management. All these 6, we call it as a process management. These are all the how part. There's nothing called what. You cannot build a reputation just by saying that. Each and everything you need to have a very clear answer. Okay, we all have something called Blue Book, which is the Bible, Quran, or Gita for all of us. So every year it undergoes certain changes. Okay, there are some very specific questions. Each and every applicant company has to respond to those questions if they want to qualify for the business excellence process. So up to 6 is called processes. And 7th one, for all these 6 processes, you need to have a corresponding results. That is why my earlier slide, when I talk about finance, it only comes into 1 or 1 and 3. But here you need to give results for all the categories that you are going for. So basically, companies like Tata Business Excellence Model, we measure the companies by 1,000 points, 550 points for the processes, and 450 points for the results. CA has got their own, they follow something called EFQM model. They have their own assessment process, and Australian excellence program or Canadian, so many things are there. So when you look into that, organization is dissected between these 4 things. If I have to give an analogy to that, the first 3 processes are the front wheel of a cycle or a motorcycle. The 5, 6, and 7 are the rear wheel. Okay. The frame is the measurement, analysis, and knowledge management. So basically, when the front wheel rotates, front wheel really moves up, the back wheel also really look into that. That is why organization is able to really perform well. So leadership, strategy, customer and market focus, workforce focus, process management, measurement, analysis, and knowledge management, and of course, business results. So when you look into that, every organization who practice excellence, okay, irrespective of the model that they choose, they really work on all these areas. Whether you're talking about Birlas or talking about HDFC, you're talking about Godrej, okay, you're talking about Tata Steel, every company follow these principles. So tomorrow, when you're joining as an employee, either at a junior level or at a senior level, each and every one of you, irrespective of the function that you represent, you have a contribution to make for the overall growth of the organization. So that is the beauty of the model. And the next best is that this is not a prescriptive model. This is only a reflective model. It shows this is where your organization stands at this point of time. You can choose, okay, what you want to do as per the market dynamics and market forces. It is not going to give you prescriptive. But when you talk about TQM, Kaizen, or Muramura, or any other TQM model, when you're talking about, you need to come out with a very clear prescriptive model. But in this case, it is not a prescriptive model. It is an objective model where it gives you a liberty to really perform, liberty to share, liberty to really look at your insights in a much better manner. So I'm just sharing an example about Tata Group. When we're talking about Tata Group, we assess every company with 1,000 points. So we give 120 points for leadership. Okay, for strategy, we give 85 points. For customer and market focus, we give 90 points. For workforce focus, we give 85 points. For process management, we give 85 points. And for results, we give 450 points. So you can write as many things as a story, but unless you have a result to really showcase, all these things become fertile. So that is why it is divided into 550 points for the processes and 450 points the results. So you have 2 options. One is you can go for a self-assessment model for your organization performance. The other one is you can go for an assessment and reward model, which I'll cover it later. So this model is a very, very renowned model. You have so many, what do you call this thing? Okay, excellence. You can see Baldrige, which used in 25 countries in US and New Zealand. Tata Business Excellence model based on the Malcolm Baldrige criteria. You can see JRD quality value. European Foundation for Quality Management, EFQM. Okay, CAA Exim Bank Business Excellence Award is based on EFQM. Apart from that, you have a Singapore Quality Award model. You have a Japanese Quality Award model. You have a Canadian Business Excellence model. You have Australian Business Excellence Framework. So many things. At the end of the day, all these things that exist worldwide, there are some variations, but all these models are remarkably similar. That is what the summary of this particular slide. So when you're talking about application of business excellence framework, it gives you a sort of a perspective about the ADLI principle. It talks about approach, deployment, learning, and integration. For example, like we start so many things, new initiatives we start. Okay, but there are many companies now who really stop only at the approach level. This model talks about how did you approach? What is a deployment model? So whether was it successful or failure? What did you learn from that? How will you really apply the learning? Okay, when you are really looking at a new product launch or a new innovation, how do you integrate your learning to the overall business functions of the organization? So this approach, we call it as a ADLI principle, which is called approach, deployment, learning, and integration. I'm sure in real life, we all make so much of what we call success stories and failure. Many times when we analyze our failures or our opportunity for improvement, we always reflect, okay, how did I approach this particular problem? Why did I fail? What are the strategies which I deployed which did not work out? What did I learn? How did I really use my learning to my next what I call success story? How did I integrate all these learnings so that no, I will not make that mistake once again? So it is a model which you can apply in your personal life as well as in your business life. So it is a very simple thing. In any organization, the initial stages, everyone will come into the reacting to the problem. After some time, they all will become, so every function will become a systematic approach. Everybody will have a very clear alignment towards the organization goal. Finally, you will have an integrated approach. So when you look into process maturity, it starts from 10 to 20. That is why this model will not give you a 600 points in the very first year. It took 20 years for Tata Steel to really get their JRD QA award. It took almost 14 years for TCS to really get their first JRD QA award. There are many companies, Tata companies, not even got even once because they are not able to really get that 500 band yet. Okay, you have to achieve at least 550 points to be qualified for the JRD Quality Value Award. So when you look into that, this is how organization also move into that. If I have to give an analogy to this, it is about firefighting in an organization. For example, like your organization wanting to really have a small fire, how do you react to that? Earlier, no, you go with the hose and put out the fire. When your process matured, you want to put more fire hoses in your factory so that no, you can prevent, or whenever fire happens, you can douse it very quickly. Your third level of maturity will talk about this systematic evaluation. You understand which are all the areas are fire prone. What are the measurements which you have to really look into that? So when you look into that, the next level of maturity is that you want to put fire extinguishers and you want to put what are sensors, sprinkler systems in those areas so that no, it can automatically function into that. But your higher level of maturity, when it comes to that, you will innovate. You will also look into the fireproof or fire retardant material so that you don't have to really get into all these things. You become a fire safe organization. This goes good for even students. This goes good for any organization, because how will you really come out from the firefighting mode to a situation where no, every process is set and done? That means like you are achieving 100% of your process maturity at some point of time. So category 7 is all about the result category. It gives you levels. It has to, you have to go through the trends. It also, you have to comparison. It will also go through the integration. So when you look into the categories, you have to really go into all these things, which we call it as the key business factors. For example, like I would like to give some example about Coimbatore, where no, we are very good pump manufacturing companies, grinder manufacturing companies. Your organization, great traditional organization, great workforce organization. Okay, like Shakti Group or for that matter, GRD, PSGs, all these things. When you really go into that, it all started with a one-person vision, one-man vision, and it actually branched out to a great organization. At some point of time, it branched out. It went into so many diversified market and everything. So there is a very clear definition from where you started and how you really go into that. This goes good for even students also. When since most of the students, I would like to share a perspective from students. How will you really grow from a management trainee to a general manager or vice president of the organization? You need to have a very clear understanding of the key business factors of your profile of your organization. So basically, you need to understand, okay, what are the organization, what is the culture, what is the relationship with the organization, who are my customers, and all these things. These are all part of the growth phase of the organization. So when you look into the key business factors, the most important thing is that how will you determine the key business factor? Because the very third slide I mentioned about, it is not only top line or bottom line. You need to really have a very clear understanding about how the business functions. So you need to have a strategic direction chosen by the applicant, competitive situation, everything to this particular part. So when you talk about leadership, we talk about senior leadership, governance and social responsibility. So how leaders guide the organization, how they communicate, how they practice good citizenship, okay, setting directions, going beyond mere statutory complaints, performance review, etc., etc. When you talk about second point category, which is a strategy, how do you develop strategy? How do you develop and how do you deploy? The third part is customer and market knowledge. Okay, how will you understand your customer and market knowledge? How will you build and sustain relationship and customer satisfaction, etc., etc. Okay, and the fourth part is measurement analysis and organizational performance and MIS, database management, everything, because this is work as a brain center for any organization. So it talks about performance review, data information, etc., etc. But when you look into that, the model talking about the lead measures and lag measures. For example, like if I do this, I get this. So basically, you'll have a lead indicators. The business excellence model is always driven by lead indicators. It will give you, moment you apply this business excellence principles in your business framework, you can be very sure that what would be the likely outcome. Your prediction and the actual will have a very little deviation, okay, either on the positive side or the negative side. So how will you compare your internal comparison, your best competition, your industry average, your best in company, best in industry, etc., etc. So people use different diagrams, fishbone, Pareto, 5-way analysis, scatter plotter, all these things. These are all some of the tools which people understand. So earlier it was called as a human resources category, but from 2010, business excellence model talk about workforce. They said it is not only a blue collar employees, it is not only a white collar employee, it is a workforce in. So how will you engage your workforce? It is not only increment or salary that satisfies the workforce. You need to engage them. How will you create a very conducive environment for your employees? So that is why people, when they join organizations like Godrej or Tata's, okay, they continue and they retire. There are very few exceptions like me who quit. Okay, when I attained my age of 50, I decided to start my own. So I quit at a very senior level. I quit. There are very few people who leave organizations like Tata. They retire with the company. The reason is that you get very good engagement. You also have a very good environment to really work. So finally the process, which is very important. Okay, the work system design, how you design the work system processes and those things, and how will you improve, okay, with your TQM and all these things. It's a process. So we talk about the Six Sigma, we talk about TQM tools, etc., for this. So when you look at processes, it has to be systematic, it has to be predictable, it has to be repeatable, it has to be effective. Okay, because I can really go on and on with that. I don't want to give a lecture about the processes here. So you can do that. The most important thing is that why business excellence model is very successful, because the reputation is always built about what you have done. It is not on what you're going to do. As Henry Ford rightly mentioned, you cannot build a reputation on what you're going to do, but what you have done. So all these evolving organization have come into that. So again, I go back to my third slide. It is not only financial metrics. Financial metrics will only talk about 70 points in the business excellence model. It talks about products and service outcomes. It talks about customer focused outcomes. It talks about financial and market outcomes. It talks about workforce focused outcomes. It talks about process effective outcomes, and it talks about leadership outcomes. So basically, it has to tie up to your vision. It has to tie up to your strategy, to processes, to measures, and to the fact-based approach. So basically, it talks about on-time delivery of the product performance, customer satisfaction, customer retention. See, why we are going in detail about this particular model is that every time when you really revisit these areas, every employee or every stakeholder has got some part to really play in this business excellence journey of an organization. That is why results also very clearly measured, taking in cognizance of every employee into that. So basically, results also you need to give a very clear comparisons, best competitor, best in class, and all these things. Okay, it always tied to business requirement. It tied to your strategy. It tied to your key processes. Okay, everything business excellence to talk about. When Mr. Ratan Tata, when he addressed the CEO this thing, he made it very clear to all of us. Okay, that time he said, like, it is an institutional approach to drive performance and attain higher level of efficiency in everything that a corporate entity does. It is not only for organization. It is a corporate as an entity. Everybody has to go into that. I have just picked a small inputs. Every year, Mr. Ratan Tata addresses in business excellence meetings, which normally happens on July 29th. on Mr. JRD's birthday, we give this award to the performing Tata companies. So the group companies, all the things above general manager level, we all get together in one of the Taj hotels in whichever region we are. And there's leadership addresses to all of us. And the awards are being given to the qualifying companies. So you have two options. One is you can apply for the business excellence framework. Okay. And you can become a sort of a self-assessment. You don't have to go for assessment model. If you want to really go in for an assessment model, you need to really have a very clear steps. You need to adopt a business excellence model. You need to ensure that employees undergo business excellence training and assessment qualifier. Okay. And the process goes on and on. And finally, the best awards companies will be given a gold medal of the respective business excellence framework. It can be Exim Banks, CA Exim, or it can be Tata Business Excellence Model, or it can be Business Excellence Model per se. The moment you choose one, you need to stick to that, and you can be rest assured that this is a well-oiled engine. Irrespective of the people changes, the organization will continue to really move into the seamless journey of the business excellence. So that is why it is an institutionalized effort to really align performances apart from your financial metrics. So basically, the maturity level as an assessor, I would like to really look at how the organization is maturing. Okay, if there are no results, okay, it is only 5%. That means in 200 points, there are some 20, 30 points are there. You get only some 200, you get only 5 points to that. So 200 into 5, you get only 10 points. So as you mature, okay, in your systems and processes, you get more points, you get more into that. So this is not a sort of this thing. This year, I have become matured to this level. Next year, I'll become no. You need to start the process once again. And every time when assessment happens, the trained assessor will go through your metrics, your application, and ensure that, okay, whatever is that been done, okay, they will go through this process. So even for processes, we need to have a very solid evidences in your organization. Anecdotal will only fetch you 5%. But when you have a systematic and effective requirements, you go into the integration part of it, where you get to score much better and much higher on that. So everything, all results and all processes tied up to this. So that is why organization, okay, brands they launch, organization, the new company they launch. Every time any new thing happens, the fundamental always remains what you call perfect. So you can build much better what you call businesses and other things. So this model is an insight provider. It is not a solution provider. Okay, it comes from the initiatives undertaken by the organization. So the most important is that each and every one of us can really contribute to that. It comes in cans. I can, you can, and we all can. Okay, we don't have to have a very specific model to really take it up. We can really do this particular thing. All it requires is to really apply mindset, both in a personal life and professional life. We require very strong mindset. We need to have a passion. We need to have a very clear focus. And when you do it with a rigor, obviously excellence will be the final output for all of us. So thank you, friends. This is what business excellence model is all about. So this is a 15 days model. I had to capsule it in 30 minutes time. Sorry, I've just taken 5 minutes more than what is required. I've given my phone number. You can go through my LinkedIn profile where I've shared some of my achievements. My mail ID is always there. I'm open to any questions now. So thank you very much for the wonderful opportunity given. Okay, and open to floor. I can take any questions if you want, as per the timeline set by the eminent office bearers. Thank you all.
Mr. Ramachandran, this is Puneet Krishnan here.
Yeah, Mr. Puneet.
First and foremost, very good and rather short and sweet presentation on a very, very complex subject.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to mention, you mentioned Blowplast. I guess you might have heard of Mr. Sanjeev Aga.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, so we share a common boss. Okay.
Wow, wow.
He was in the ABG group. So level 5 leader, I would consider him. I don't know what you think about that.
Absolutely, sir. It's incidentally, he was my super boss.
Yeah. So, and the other part, we talked about all these big groups, and I also worked for ABG Group for a long time and Tata Group both. And an ABG group also has a very, very strong business excellence model, and especially companies which are mainly in manufacturing side,
Yeah,
I feel have a much better handle on business excellence model, and they are very committed to that. I
you are
have not
absolutely
seen
right.
so much in the service industry. What is your view on that?
Yeah, in fact, if you really see service industry, I would like to really give, you're absolutely right. But even service industry today, when you talk about Infosys, already started practicing their own business excellence model. TCS, being a service provider, being a Tata Group company, they have started doing that. If you see General G, okay, they have got their models. But
Services
every
model.
company, irrespective of the framework, they all started in this direction. For example, like if you really say Infosys is a classic example where I did some work into some a small contribution to their excellence journey. If you really see that an organization, they're very clear. In fact, because they are so much of uh, motivated by Tata Group. Okay, so they actually started following the processes in their own way, and they started with that. With due respect to the organization, which my window is very limited to manufacturing. Sorry that I could not mention about those companies. So that's why I started with that. You are bang on. But manufacturing industry, the problem is it becomes a production side. Not many, every employee is a thing. But in business excellence, every stakeholder is part to that. For example, look at
Exactly.
the salesperson talking about business excellence.
No. So the reason why I was saying is that the companies which have a manufacturing base for, let's say, in ABG Group, there are companies like
Correct.
Novelis and Ultratech Cement, and these are all leaders in their own fields.
Absolutely, sir.
Since manufacturing industries already practice a lot of TQM and other quality
Correct.
tools, business excellence comes much more naturally to them.
Correct.
For example, I was in the telecom industry, which you can call a service industry of ABG.
Okay.
It took us quite some time to actually come to grips with business excellence concept.
Okay.
But in ABG Group, business excellence is a very, very serious,
Serious thing.
very, very serious affair. And so I was just reminded of the times we actually applied for the Business Excellence Award and how much we had to actually
Yeah, I think
that itself is a journey just to apply for the award. Yeah.
I think there's a wonderful perspective that you brought into this podium. I think it's very happy to really hear from a person who actually lived through this process. So happy to really have your views, and I think a fantastic
And
insight
I
that
just
you
want to take, we talked about the values, both
yeah.
Tata groups and ABG groups believe and practice the values to the T. And I think that is one of the reasons why the employees are also very happy.
Absolutely.
One incident which I can quote, which was mentioned publicly, is that ABG Group always used to sponsor the India Today conclave,
Okay.
and there was one conclave where Dalai Lama was invited as the chief guest
Okay.
2 years back, and ABG Group has few factories and business interests in China, quite a few factories,
Okay.
and the intense pressure brought about by the Chinese government
Okay.
on Mr. Kumar Mangala to kind of not sponsor that event where Dalai Lama was being invited.
Okay.
But he stood firm, absolutely firm, saying, "No, this is as per our value." And ultimately, nothing happened. I mean, the Chinese government realized that they will not get their way. So this is where values actually come into play when actually there's a tough situation.
In fact, that's very, very well said, Mr. Puneet. When I joined the company, okay, the first thing what was given along with the appointment letter, there is something called TCOP, Tata Code
Yeah,
of Conduct.
yes, code of conduct.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can be you can survive without performance, but the moment you really deviate, you know that. Okay,
Yes.
that is the last day of the working in the organization, irrespective of the
Organization.
position that you hold. Okay, I think that perhaps one of the best things I'm blessed to really work with all these companies who practice excellence to the core. I think your perspective about your organization and the values that you talked about, it makes one immense contribution to this forum. It's great, Mr. Puneet. I think it's a fantastic, well articulated. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much for the
Thank you, Mr.
for your
Puneet.
presentation.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much. So any questions anyone has got, I'll be happy to take it, or you can also reach out to me. Absolutely, I will be glad to really respond to those questions. So if there are no more questions, I'll leave the podium to Dr. Ravindran, sir.
Just a minute, hold on, sir.
Sure.
Our MC member, Mr. M.K.G. Anandakumar, will deliver vote of thanks.
Sure, we'll do that, sir. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate Mr. B. Ramachandran sir's presence today for our Coimbatore Management Association Monday musings. With this great experience, what he had towards this business excellence in terms of institutionalized framework for performance. It gave a great insight to the students and the faculty members and the coordinators and the participants, a real insight about what is business excellence in terms of institutional framework and for performance. So I really thank Mr. Ramachandran sir for having with us today in addressing our Coimbatore Management Association Monday musings, in giving a great input about all these subjects. He has given a lot of examples towards a company's perspective, what they feel and how they feel and all that. So excellent presentation, sir. Once again, thank you on behalf of Coimbatore Management Association for giving your time on giving an excellent presentation, sir. Thank you so much. And I also thank all the participants, student members, faculties from different organizations, and CMA Secretary, Mr. Ravindran, sir, and CMA Executive Committee members, and the President, office bearers, everyone. I take this opportunity to thank everyone being here. I thank Sundar for organizing this Monday Musings number 468. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, sir. Thank you so
very much, sir. It's a family meeting after all. So I'm part of the system. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for the wonderful opportunity given. Looking forward to more learning from the CMA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.